Water. Not Red Bull, like that silly vlog I made. It's almost like 6 o'clock, so Red Bull is out of the question for this evening, but what's going on? How you doing? Welcome back. I don't get a ton of comments on my videos, but the one comment that I get a ton of is things like, hey man, can you show us your camera settings on the M50? Hey man, can you show us how you color grade your videos? And my personal favorite, hey man, I have a Canon M50, how do I get my footage to look as good as yours? That one always makes me feel kind of good. Now, if you remember, back in 2020, I made a video called How I Make Videos. And in that video, I kind of briefly touched on how I make videos. I kind of briefly touched on how I edit my stuff, and I just talked about it. I didn't really go into full details of everything, but I basically told you what was going on. And the reason that I made that video like that is because I've never really had an interest in making a video about how I make videos, really because I never really felt like I could explain it in a way that would actually make sense to you, or like you would actually understand what I was doing. I never really felt like I was at that level of professional where I just never thought of myself as a teacher of this stuff, so I never felt like I could make a video like this. Well, the comments are still rolling in, people are still asking, people still want to know how I do all this stuff, so today I decided, screw it, and I'll give the people what they want. So in this video, I am going to give you a full rundown of my camera settings on the Canon M50, how I shoot with the Canon M50, how I've set it up for making these videos, and then we'll take a look at how I edit and color grade. You wanted it, so let's go. The camera that I use to shoot all of my videos is the Canon M50, the first one that ever came out, not the Mark II, because there's really no point in me getting the Mark II because it's not that big of an update. Side note there, if you have the Canon M50, do not spend your money on the Mark II because it's really not an upgrade whatsoever. There's just a couple new extra features that you probably won't ever use. Save that money for some lenses for your Mark I M50, or continue to save that money for an actual upgrade like an EOS R or something. Side note concluded. So yeah, I use the M50 Mark I, and I use the Sigma 16mm f1.4 and the Sigma 30mm f1.4. I don't use the 15 to 45 kit lens that comes with the M50. I don't use the 11 to 22 M series lens anymore, because once I got these Sigma lenses, those just became kind of obsolete to me. These lenses are just so good, and the reason I'm telling you about the lenses that I use is because if you're trying to make your Canon M50 footage look better, there's a chance that it could be as simple as a lens. So if you want to, you know, spend some money and invest some money in either one or both of these Sigma lenses, the 16mm and the 30mm, or just the 16mm, that's the one I would recommend to get first. These lenses are going to make your M50 feel like it's a brand new camera. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm still on the M50, why I haven't upgraded, because once I got these Sigma lenses, it felt like I had a new camera and I was starting fresh, because these lenses just make everything so clear, so crisp. They give you that nice blurry background. You can stop down all the way to f1.4, so your low light is good to go no matter what. And yeah, I just wanted to let you know which lenses I'm using, because it could be as simple as just a lens upgrade. Now, camera settings. I use a custom picture profile that I made on my Canon M50, which you can do right on the Canon M50. I don't use auto, don't use standard, don't use neutral, or any of the other ones that are built right into the camera, because they just don't suit my color grading needs. And yeah, let me show you that real quick. So it's really simple to make one of these custom picture profiles. What you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna go into your menu, scroll over to screen number 3, down to picture style, and down to one of the 3 empty slots. I'm using number 1, so we'll go right to number 2 here, and we'll start editing that. You wanna click info to set that. Change it to neutral, because that is the most neutral profile already on the Canon M50, so I start with that as a base. Sharpness, I bring up 4 notches, so I don't have to do any sharpening in post. Contrast, I bring all the way down. Saturation, I bring all the way down. Color tone, I actually move to the right 1 notch, because my face is a little bit generally more red on the red side, so I move that away to kind of get rid of that a little tiny bit, and then that's pretty much it. You just use that picture profile from now on, and it's not by any means a log profile, but it's the closest to a log profile that you're gonna get on the Canon M50 without having to download any third-party picture profiles. You can download something like CineStyle or FilmKit Flat on this camera, but in my personal experience, and we don't need to get into it, those just didn't work the best for me on this camera because they're not an actual log profile. They're just like a filter on top of the footage that's already coming out of the camera. So I had a hard time color grading it. I could never get it to look right. I know you got to put some more work into that stuff, but I could never get it to look right no matter how much work I put into it. So I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend doing something like this, like a custom picture profile, to just give you a little bit more leeway when you're color grading. You know, bringing that contrast down, that saturation down, you kind of get to play with it a little bit more, and it kind of makes it more flat and neutral, and you know, you get a little bit more room to work when you want to start color grading. And that's pretty much it for how my camera is set up. That's how I leave my camera set up all the time. It never changes. It's just that 24/7 every time I shoot a video, and that's how I set up my M50. So now let's move on to the editing process. Okay, so now that I have DaVinci Resolve loaded up on my computer, got a video here that I edited a little while ago, the funny Red Bull vlog. Once I've cut and edited the video, cutting and adding the music and doing all that basic stuff, then it's time to get into the color. So I switch over to that color tab. DaVinci Resolve has an incredible selection of things to do with color grading. I barely use any of it. I do pretty basic stuff, and I am not by any means a professional colorist, and I will never claim to be a professional colorist. And if there's any professional colorists watching this video and you're thinking, what is this guy doing? Like, that's wrong. Give me a break, all right? I'm just having fun making vids. I don't really care. So the first thing that I do with my footage is I add a LUT. Yes, I use LUTs, and I'm not ashamed of that. I know that half of the creator community is like, LUTs are fine, and the other half is like, if you use a LUT, then you suck, which is basically what they want to say but won't say. I don't really care. Use a LUT if that's what you want to do. This is just the way that I've been doing it since the beginning, and it works for me, so I don't really care. So I slap a LUT on all of my footage on the timeline as a base layer, and the LUT that I use is in Flame, which is a Matti Haapoja LUT, just as a base layer. And, you know, I add my own tweaks after that, which is actually how you should use a LUT, because, you know, just to prove that, I mean, I put this LUT on my footage all the time, and I don't actually like the way it looks. I have to add my own adjustments to it to make it actually look good. It doesn't look bad, it's just not how I like it. So, once I slap that LUT on there, I start adjusting the individual clips. So what I usually do is very, very basic stuff. Rip a little S curve on there, make that look good, make the highlights, the shadows, all that good stuff. You know, mess around with that S curve. I pretty much do the same thing every single time because it just works for me with this LUT and the edits that I like. Come over here and mess around with the contrast. I usually do 1.200 with the contrast, and then add a little 60 to the saturation, because like we mentioned in the custom picture profile we made for the M50, we brought that contrast all the way down, that saturation all the way down. So you want to introduce a little bit of that back into the clip. This is looking pretty damn good. I honestly would probably be fine with the way that this looks right now. I think I'd probably leave it like that. But to kind of match my style and match my vibe, I kind of start messing around with the temperature a little bit with it. Usually 9 times out of 10, I picked kind of a complicated clip here. 9 times out of 10 when I'm editing my footage, I do all of this stuff, and then when I get to the temperature, I usually bump it down to like -500 or -1000. Like this footage that you're watching right now is probably down about -500 or -400, all the way up to -1000 if I need it, because that's just how this room works with this room and these lights. That's how it works with the color grade that I like. But for this specific clip, I might actually just leave it at +100, or if I really want to mess around with it, I might grab that little, I might cheat a little bit and grab that little white balance corrector dripper thing right here, and I might actually just click on the sky there and let it go to work, let it do its thing, you know. And I actually I actually quite like the way that looks, so that's looking pretty good to me. So what I normally do is I will pick the best clip out of the whole video, in my opinion, and I will edit that clip first. And I will base the rest of the video, the rest of the edits, on that one shot and make everything kind of match that as best I can. I don't always get it perfect, but I don't really care, but I do my best. So what I will normally do is I will edit that first clip, and then I will grab a still of that clip, and I will copy and paste it to all of the clips in that same shot. You know, you take one big shot and you cut it up into a bunch of different clips. I will copy and paste that to all of those clips, and then I'll go to a different section of the video, maybe the beginning here, and I will again copy and paste that edit to there, but then it's not gonna look quite right because it was in a different spot, different lighting, all of that stuff. So then I will adjust that clip to the last one and make it look similar, and then I will copy and paste again and do the same thing over and over and over again. And that is pretty much it, my dudes. That is the lenses I use, how I set up my Canon M50 for making these videos, and of course, how I color grade. I hope it helped the people that were asking for this. I hope I did a good job explaining it to you. I told you that it wasn't anything special and it's, you know, pretty basic stuff, but I hope you got out of this what you wanted. So use this stuff that I told you today, that I taught you. If you learned anything, I don't know. If you learned anything, use it to go make some damn vids, okay? Don't copy exactly what I just did. That won't be cool. Come up with your own stuff. Make your own style. Come up with your own colors, your own look. You know, you can use the same LUT, the same basic corrections that I do, but, you know, mess around with it. Come up with your own style on top of that LUT. Do your thing. Have a good time. Feels good to be making vids again, my dudes. Feels good to feel good about making vids again. More things are coming. More things are happening. Super excited for the future, and I hope you have a good week. Happy Monday. I got nothing else. I'm glad you're here. I love you. Make something.